Okay, so I'm going to do a video that I did before 6 years ago uh, about winter clothing and cycling. Uh, and this will be kind of the updated version. I think there's a couple pieces in here, a few pieces that'll be the same. Um, so I'm going to kind of skip over the early season stuff. One thing I'm going to mention about early season stuff, like in the late summer, early fall, or even cool summer nights, is shorts that go below the knee. I think they're fabulous. I use these a lot. These particular ones are they're specialized. I'm not sure what the model is, but they're kind of insulated, and they've got a pad, and they're bib shorts. I don't really care that they're bib shorts or not, but they're just good below the knee ones. So that's kind of early season. But I'm going to focus on stuff in the maybe single digits, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So it's still quite a range of temperatures that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to start at the warmer end of that temperature. So if I'm going on a ride, it's going to be in the 40s and 50s right now. What I wear is I start with a regular pair of shorts. Padded. These are padded. Um, and then I have this long insulated pant that's actually a bib short or a bib pant uh, that used to have a pad in it, but I took the pad out because I didn't like the pad. And I think that's one of the good lessons here. If you have something you don't like the pad, but you like the other part of it, you can use a seam ripper and pull the pad out. So I put this over the regular short, this bib pant. And that's, if it's in the 40s and 50s, that's pretty good on the bottom. And I have my go-to thick wool socks that are pretty much a staple for winter. Hopefully you can see all that. And my go-to winter boots that I end up wearing fall, winter, and spring. They're Gore-Tex, they're kind of waterproof. These are really old. These are the same ones in that video 6 years ago. They're still great boots. These ones are made by Shimano, but I'm sure there's lots of brands that make good winter boots. So that's part of the equation. And then on the upper part for the 40 and 50 degree range, I usually go with a synthetic long sleeve shirt. And if it's really going to stay in the 50s and 40s, then what I'll do is I'll put a super lightweight down coat on top of that. This one even has like these panels on the back of the arm and down the side that aren't insulated at all. But it is a really lightweight down coat. And then kind of go-to gloves for winter riding. These are the Segoy. I think they're called Firewalls. They have Thinsulate in them. It says 100 grams of Thinsulate. They're really good, just general winter gloves. And a hat, which I pretty much do the same hat all the time. It's a smart wool hat. It's a little thicker than my summer hat. I use a smart wool hat in the summer and a smart wool hat in winter, but this one is one of their thicker hats up at the head. And of course, helmet. And a big part of riding in the winter is that it gets dark. So I have lights. I have a Light in Motion rechargeable front light. This is the Urban 350. Oh, Urban 550. Interesting. Okay. Has 550 lumens, I guess, and a little blinker in the back, which is actually a really good blinker. It's made by Cygolite. It's the hot rod. That's pretty much the kit for the warmer riding. Right. If it's going to get colder, I add things. One of the things I'll add, well, the first thing to change if it gets colder is I go to a heavier coat. And usually if I'm going to do that, I go ahead and throw a smart wool short sleeve shirt on top of this long sleeve synthetic shirt. And then I go with the warmer coat, which could be this down coat, which is really kind of one of my warmer down coats, or I might go to this down coat, which is just a really super old coat I have that I've worn on a lot of rides. As a matter of fact, it's got duct tape patched over holes and stuff. But it's a great coat, and it's really not form-fitting or anything. It's just a generic coat, but it's been kind of a workhorse over the years. That's kind of my second level coat, and then my third level coat is this nice Rab coat I got recently. That would get me into the next level of coldness, like into the 30s now, upper 30s at that point. And really, if it's going to go into mid 30s or something, I take out these gloves and I switch to I have some outdoor research down mittens, and they're my cold weather gloves, really. And at that point, if we're getting into the mid 30s, I'll throw on some leg warmers underneath these insulated bib pants, and I still have these shorts on. And as a matter of fact, especially if it's going to get into the 20s, I'll have the leg warmers, the pants, the shorts, and then I'll throw on a shell pant. It's a waterproof. This is by Pearl Izumi. The waterproof pant really helps keep you warm, because when you're riding, there's basically always wind because you're moving, and it's basically a windbreaker is what it's doing. And I will wear the pant shell well before I wear any shell on top, because on top I want to expel moisture, where my legs, basically you don't sweat in the legs too much, seems to be in the upper body, so I don't worry about. I'm quick to put on a shell on the bottom, very slow to put a shell on the top. So what else can I add if I'm in the 30s and I'm dropping into potentially the 20s as well? I've also got, so far all I've had up top was a regular hat. I'm not sure where I put that right now, but there was that smart wool hat, and I add I forget what you call these things, basically a tube that you put over your neck, and it can be just a neck warmer like that, or you can pull it up higher and kind of keep your face warm. So those are very handy, and these are very common items. You can find them at all stores, and this one's made of wool, but they could be made of synthetic or whatever. No cotton, but synthetic certainly fine. And then that's pretty much the furthest I've gone lately. This kit with a good down coat and 2 shirts and the shell pant and the insulated pants, and the whole deal can get you well into the 30s and into the 20s. You can also, at some point, add foot warmers and hand warmers, and you're certainly at that point able to go well into the 20s, and then you even into the teens. Keep in mind, this is for a rider who is 52 years old and is not out there pushing really hard in the winter. If you're aggressive in your riding, you're going to get hotter, and these clothes might be too much. That's about as far as I've gone yet this year, riding into the teens. If I was to go colder, I have options. For one, I could put a fleece on the legs underneath, or actually this fleece would go over the insulated cycling pant and under the shell pant. So you'd effectively have 3 long things on your leg. And you can also add a fleece to your upper body, along with the 2 shirts under the down coat. And actually I would add that upper fleece before I added the lower fleece. I'm more into putting insulative layers on top, and like I said, potentially more wind resistant layers on the bottom. But you could end up with that fleece on the bottom. And then if you go even colder, you can swap out the coat for a real down coat, like a full on, just the puffiest coat imaginable. You can wear that riding if you're going into single digits and potentially below zero. At that point, I'd start to think, okay, well, then actually you're also going to add a shell. And if it was really just maybe in the teens, potentially breaking into single digits, I'd probably just use a lightweight shell like this that weighs like 7 ounces. This little shell probably wouldn't fit over this big coat. It'd probably be more if you were using this kind of medium weight coat. But if you go to the big down coat, then you go with the big down shell. This is an old North Face, like expedition kind of parka. You could wear cycling if you're going below zero, basically. And at that point, you may consider an extra pair of gloves underneath these wool mittens. And at that point, you might also consider an extra pair of thin socks in your boots with your wool socks and the foot warmers. Well, there's the hat I lost. And that's basically it. That's the whole kit I'm using now. And that's my update for 2020 on my winter clothing.